up, the sap ran again for us, and it all froze up what was in the buckets, which is good because it'll keep it longer.
Oh yeah.
If the sap freezes up at night, it'll last longer. If it doesn't freeze at night, it'll sour within 1 to 2 days, and you got to throw all that hard work of collecting it out.
The smell of maple syrup is like heaven. It's
Yeah. When you give us it next weekend, it'll smell even nicer in here because we just fired the boiler up today. So we have nothing coming off the boiler in the way of finished product to really add the aroma in the air. And that. Because it'll take us at least 24 hours before we will get the first bit of maple syrup out of this system. It takes over a barrel of sap just to fill this system. And one of these barrels of sap will make one of these 4-liter parts and one of these 4-liter jugs full of syrup.
It's not very much, eh?
It's a labor of love. Another way of stopping and thinking of it, 40 of these little white bottles around the wall makes the one that's hanging up full of syrup.
oh my gosh.
It's a labor of love to do this.
Yeah, I'd work here.
Yeah. If you're interested in volunteering, stop up and see at the office on your way out.
Okay.
Westfield is always looking for volunteers for various buildings in various places. The only time this one is running is during maple syrup season, the 4 to 5 Sundays in March. But there are other buildings if you've got interest. Like I'm one of the volunteers here.
Yeah.
I do the agriculture barn at times, the carriage barn, and I help with other various things, various jobs and all that. They won't just throw you into a building and say, here, have fun.
Yeah.
They will work with you. They will put you with what they call a house parent. Who will help teach you about the building.
So this has been in the freezer over.
So I can ask for work here then?
Volunteer.
Want to have a chaser?
Sure.
That east wind's coming through there, Paul. Can you pull that window shut?
Yeah, just give me a second to set these two things down. Want a taster?
That's what it looks like.
Oh, that's different, eh? What stage is this at? It's almost like a
Well, that's last year.
This is the most delicious
We froze it, that we would have some samples to get started.
piece of heaven I've ever had.
Because we can only make enough in this shack to provide enough for samples and baking throughout the year. And that, which is we have approximately 140 trees tapped, which will give us, each tree will give you about 1 liter of maple syrup.
Well done.
Yeah, and on a good day in the gift shop, we'll go through 250 liters of
that
syrup.
there?
It comes from a group out of Grimsby area. It's properly made and everything. It's not the synthetic stuff or whatever. It is real maple syrup, but they do it in a faster method.
This is very sweet.
Yes, yeah.
This is
And this is the dark stuff that a lot of people like, what a lot of people like on their pancakes, and especially for baking. The darker the better. We've got 3 little bottles over here of some grades. I'll hold it up. Get the glove out of the way here. If I hold this up to the light, kind of out of the way of the smoke, make you guys move a little bit, you can see the different grades, light to a medium in there.
Oh yeah.
But ours, we'd like to get we're trying to get a sample bottle to fit in here to show our dark stuff that you make out of the good old-fashioned evaporator. The longer the sap stays in the pan to turn into maple syrup, the darker it will get. And of course, there's nothing there dark enough to match what we put out. Yeah. So, anyways, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, the thing to make your maple syrup light color.
I don't know where to put it.
Boil it up fast.
Here.
So this is starting to get the color.
I didn't get it.
It's
I
garbage
thought
right there.
this one?
It's garbage right
Is that
there.
garbage?
It starts out just like water. Right? That's what comes out of the tree.
Now I got it all.
Just like water.
Yeah,
This
tell me.
cold sap here.
Where?
Right?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Now that juice that comes out of the tree in the springtime, it's got a tiny bit of
Best
sugar.
stuff
You guys
ever.
know what that sugar does?
the sap.
That's the job of the
Oh, yeah.
sugar in the tree. Well, the sugar in here is what makes the buds open and turn into leaves in the springtime. Okay? So the tree's got to take sugar out of its body that it made last year, and it has to get it up to those tiny little buds, and it's the energy that pops them open and makes them grow. And we're stealing the food out of the tree to make maple syrup. So that's what it looks like when it starts to boil. It's just like water.
best thieves ever.
So we'll boil in the back, and then we'll go up to the front, and the front one looks just the same right now, and it's really watery. The middle one, though, by golly, we're starting to get something on this. Look at that. See it starting to turn? Now, the reason that it's changing color is that we're driving the water away as steam, but the sugar's staying behind in the pot. Because the sugar's just a little heavier than water, and it will stay behind in the pot. So as the steam goes away, that's water leaving, and I can get all the sugar down into one place, and then it'll start turning into maple syrup. Now, when it's done, maple syrup is 66% sugar. Right? It's like 2 scoops of sugar in 1 scoop of water. all mixed together. And it has to be like that so it'll act like jam. And that sugar is antibacterial. It will actually kill bacteria that falls inside it, and that'll keep your maple syrup from going bad, right? So it's like if you ever cheated your jam and not put enough sugar in, and it goes moldy right away, that's what you don't want to do with maple syrup. You got to get up to 66%. Now we're nowhere near it yet. I've got a thermometer stuck in there, and it should come up above the boiling point, because as the sugar percentage goes up, so does the boiling point. But my
Crushing the
thermometer's
ice?
not even reading
Chipping it,
anything.
yeah. It's good, it helps to keep it.
Yeah.
That's the jam.
Frozen sap keeps longer.
When you tap a tree, you have to wait till the tree is the size of the beer before you can tap it at all. about
And that's how they make it everywhere, right?
Yep.
Just like this?
Yeah, well, some of the newer methods,
Taking too much
they
juice
get
out of
into
the
a
thing,
bigger
they
building
can't take it.
and they'll run steam through it, they'll do a bit of reverse
If you
osmosis.
tap it,
Oh.
you
Where they can run
stunt
it through a
its growth
filter,
by
it takes some
about
of the water
5%.
out, so it takes less
Okay.
time. A
But
lot of
the
those
real
are
danger
natural
is that you're
gas
gonna
fired.
cause an infection
over
in
top of
tree
the
when
wood.
you drill into it.
This is the old traditional
The
style.
staff
Yeah.
rafter
When I
is
was
right
younger,
behind
my
the
one
bark,
neighbor had a big
okay?
steel pan
Right at
out
the
in the middle of the
outside
bush.
edge.
And I
The
worked
trees
with
grow in
him.
rings,
March
and the
break,
new
mom and
grain
dad
appears
would find
underneath
me.
the
Yeah,
bark every
I would
year.
do that too.
And that's where
Oh,
the
yeah.
sap is
And I
right
lived
out
back there.
underneath the
Yeah.
bark.
It was a mile from home. I'd walk
So when you
back and
first
forth.
drill in, you
Sometimes
break
I'd be
through
lucky and
that
get right
layer
on the
of
tractor
liquid,
fender, in out of the bush and halfway
and the
back home.
sap is under a lot
I'd
of
enjoy
pressure.
that.
I lived there. I'd even get off the
Inflate
school bus
tree
and go
with
back
liquid,
there to
and
see if
it'll
he
come
was
out
still
and
there.
catch it.
Yeah.
And he sometimes, he'd be back, if it ran through the night, it didn't freeze up at night, he'd sometimes be back there at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night collecting. I was never back there.
Yeah.
He was walking through the bush with a flashlight carrying sap bales, collecting it.
Wow.
And loading the fire up.
Made his own maple syrup?
Oh yeah, it was good.
That was good too, yeah.
And then eventually what you have to
The
do is
first
run
time you
it
ever
through
hear
a
a
filter.
frog,
That's stuff
something
we
like
filtered
that,
out last year.
it's all over.
Like we'll do it so
Suddenly
far
that
here
sappage is
Yeah.
and that, and then we'll take it up to the shop where we can control the heat better and finish
Buds
off.
have enough sugar, they're
Like
gonna
we'll get it
open,
close here and run it into the
switch
pail.
over and stop using
And
sugar.
then it'll go up to the shop
Go around and pull the
and
spiles
they'll
out,
use a propane
and
stove
then the holes will heal
and they'll
up
just
and
watch
the
it
belly
and
button.
watch the temperature.
It looks
As
like
you heard
an
him
eye.
saying,
Yeah.
107 degrees
That's what
Celsius
healed
for the
up the
boiling
hole
of it.
from years gone by.
And then they'll run it through this filter to get the dirt out.
Heal over with wood and
But that's
tree
still
with
stuff
belly
that's in there.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That one
Yeah.
healed up
That's
small,
good.
Surprising,
tight
yeah.
I'd,
piece of tree with
wow.
growing vigorously.
Perfect.
And yes, mind having
Like
a
say,
home
stop
drill
up, see at the office or whatever, someone should be around there.
Alright.
Or you can always turn around and go on, give them a call during the week, leave a message,
Yeah.
email. And if you're interested, we're still in.
Ancaster.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, there's others from Lancaster. I just live just north of here a little bit. So all kinds of volunteer opportunities, what we're talking about. He's kind of interested.
Perfect.
And if this young lady beside you is too,
Hey
there's,
Jesse. Oh, she's laying on me.
they will, you work with people. They don't just throw you into a building and turn you loose on your own and expect you to know it. There's people with you.
Yeah.
And depending upon the age of the individual, if they're under 12, they have to be in a building with a family member, or one that the family member authorized, a good friend usually, which is a family member. Once they get over 12, they can turn around and go with others.
Yeah. I turn 18 in October.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, but if you hear hear of other people, younger
Oh,
children
okay,
looking for
yeah.
stuff too.
Okay.
I'm mentioning that it's all right. Yeah, so you're able to go to the buildings on your own too.
Yeah.
And that, but yeah, no, it's a fun thing. And you learn a lot of stuff at times. We do Halloween as well. Only for a couple of nights for Halloween usually. And telling tales, the big storytelling day that comes up in
Yeah.
September, and all that. Ice cream festival. The normal Sundays are 12:30 till 4. Maple syrup, telling tales. Ice cream festival are 10 till 6. Or sorry, 10 till 4. It's a 6-hour day.
Alright.
Yeah. But Jen likes to know, she's a volunteer coordinator, and she likes to know, when you're coming or whatever. But they'll run you through a little safety video and everything, and all that. So, and you kind of work your schedule and what you can. Come up and,
I wouldn't even do this for money. It would just be for fun. I would
Yeah,
just.
well, that's what the
Yeah.
Sugar Shack. This is where I live.
Yeah.
I live these 5 Sundays back here in the Sugar Shack.
I'd live here. I like it.
There's a lot of other interests, to see what you're that. They'll maybe move you around a little bit if you decide to start volunteering. They'll pick out some interests out of you, what you kind of say you're interested in for the
Yeah.
normal time of the year. And then they'll move you around a little bit to see what you really like, if it is what you. There's also a bit of a Queen's Rangers game.
Oh, yeah. I used
See
to go
them.
to Queen's Rangers school, so we went to a little place where they had a building. I forget which one.
Yeah.
They taught us all the history behind it. So that's
Yeah, so there's that too. There's down in the native area,
Yeah.
various things.
I like it.
Yeah. So it's something to consider. You're trying to get your volunteer hours up, and also just if it's a little bit of history.
That's sort of how
Yeah.
the grades work. The darker they
Doing
are, the
something
more
different on your
molasses sap
Sundays?
taste you're going to have.
I'd do it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll call back.
You wanna have a pink?
Could I have another one? Or thank you. They're just so tasty.
Yeah, very good. Want to try one?
This is amazing.
Yeah. We get really fat as we keep cooking. But this building is actually made out of basswood. All basswood beams. The beam will knock down that building.
That moment when you realize your family is gone.
There are approximately 200 volunteer names on the list
Oh,
in this village.
wow.
It's about 200 different people volunteer.
They never all out at once.
Well, I guess it'll be 201 soon.
Start boiling it down.
201 volunteers soon.
Okay.
Starting to turn. But our stuff often turns out pretty dark. We can't make it quite fast.
How do you know when to add more? You just do
What I'm
it?
doing is, see that rib up the middle? If that starts to, this,
Oh yeah.
if that starts to get exposed, it can start warping the pan,
Okay.
and the lead-free solder could start coming out because there's nothing there to cool it. So I've got to keep that rib covered if I want
Yeah.
to boil like a.
Always add more so it doesn't just keep it above that.
Yeah, I've got to keep it above it.
Okay.
So if it gets down below, I will damage the pan. You don't need that. That's stainless steel.
Yeah.
Stainless steel's not cheap to get repaired.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.